a wild day in terms of, games getting canceled and moved around and things like that. Just wanted to see if you've been in touch with Mississippi Valley State and if all systems are go for that, and then maybe just your initial thoughts on them as a team.
Yeah, from all indication, first of all, hey, it's great to see everybody. Yes, all indications are, Curtis, that we're playing Mississippi Valley State, and we're preparing for them. So, yeah, we're planning on playing the game. Initial thoughts, they got a really talented player at the guard. The coach's son, Lindsey Hunter's son, is a really good scorer. His numbers last year, can shoot the three. And, usually a player makes his biggest jump from his freshman to sophomore year. And obviously that's Hunter had a great freshman year. And, so he's obviously been a focal point of our preparation. And then they also have a lot of junior college transfers, meaning guys that have, at least 2 years of experience outside of high school basketball. So, and they play really, really fast. I mean, they try to get the ball up and score in the first 12 seconds. 50% of their shot attempts after a made basket are within the first 12 seconds, and like 80% after a missed shot, and they've secured the defensive rebound. 80-some% of their shots are within the first 12 seconds. So transition defense is going to have to be a must.
Coach, you mentioned Coach Hunter's son. In your experience playing a coach's son like that, what do they bring to the table? What makes them difficult to play against?
Well, I mean, I don't know if there's necessarily a real theme, Hutch, as far as, I mean, there's been a lot of great father-son coaching combos in college. I mean, it's going to date myself, but even, Al McGuire and his son, Allie. Allie was more of a pass-first point guard for Marquette. Billy Allen and Sonny Allen, when Sonny Allen was coaching at Nevada, and Billy Allen led the nation in assists. Jerry Tarkanian's son, Danny, was a guy that broke all types of passing records as an assist guy. And then there's been other coaches that have sons that have really scored for him. Press Maravich and Pete Maravich. Those are just some that come off the top of my head. But, Lindsey runs a system that's a little bit like the pro offensive system in trying to score the ball quickly. And his son has a lot of confidence and plays that way, from an offensive standpoint.
Bob?
Yeah, Eric, Lindsey Hunter was a first-round pick. I think he played 17 seasons in the NBA. You guys, I think he probably faced your teams a lot of times based on the time frame I saw. What do you remember about him as a player, and do you know him very well?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know him really well, but I do know him. Our paths have crossed a few times, and he had a great reputation as a player. He could score the ball, could find open teammates, was a great competitor. And anytime you last, more than 10 years in any pro league, you've got to be a great locker room guy. So for Coach Hunter to play that many years in the NBA, I'm sure that especially towards the end of his career, he was a great locker room guy and a guy that understood team chemistry and had an incredible work ethic, and was a great, we know he was a great player, but also had to be a great practice player to last that long in the league.
I know you said last week it was getting hard, staying with all the practice, no games. Now that a game's finally here on the horizon, how do you feel? How do you think the team feel? Do you think you guys are ready to start playing?
I mean, first of all, we had our most spirited practice today, and it was short. So yes, I think that they are excited to play, man. I mean, there's no doubt, they're hungry for other competition. I mean, they were fired up to practice today. I can say that. I don't know how we're going to come out on Wednesday, but I know that today we were maybe it was because they knew they weren't going to, have a long practice and didn't have to deal with me for a long period of time today. But they were spirited. They're hungry. They want to compete. It's upon us. We got to, now it's just about going out and trying to produce.
And Ken Palm rates Mississippi Valley State the last team in the country, I guess, in terms of power ratings. What are your feelings on that?
I guess I haven't really read that.
Well, Scotty's real good at analytics. He emailed me something about it. So now that I've told you about it, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, look, we got so many new faces. We haven't played a game, and I mean, we got to figure out who we are. I mean, that's a really, really important factor for us right now. Is number one is to play a game, because as we've already talked on this Brady Bunch Zoom, that the bottom line is there's games not happening. So we just want to play. Like let's get to Wednesday. We still have another COVID test tomorrow. Like let's get to the game. Let's play. Let's get a jump ball, and that's all I'm really concerned with right now.
Okay, I got some more, but I'll turn it back over to Mike first.
Nate? Yeah, with the must use for substitutions. I mean, do you look to sub more in an opening game like this and have a bigger rotation than you normally would, and do a lot more evaluating?
I don't think so, Nate. I mean, like the object of the game is to try to win on Wednesday night. The only thing we're trying to figure out is how do we get, a win? And then as the game's progressing, I think you just got to see who's playing well. With the pace that they play at, like transition defense is going to be, really important. I told the guys, like, if you're jogging back on Wednesday, you're probably going to end up sitting next to me. That you got to sprint back in transition defense. And I'm certainly not going into any game thinking that we're going to do anything other than like who's starting number one, which I told them I'd like to tell them who's starting by tomorrow, by the end of practice. And then so that when they come in to shoot around on game day, that they have it already in their head. They don't find out when they come in the locker room on game night. But yeah, I think right now it's, a starters, who's the first guy off the bench, who's the second guy off the bench, maybe who's the third guy off the bench. And then from there, the game's going to dictate, the rotation.
Thanks.
Jordan.
Hey, Coach, got to ask you about your move into the pool house. I saw Danielle posted this very elaborate video, and it looks like nice digs, but how tough are you to deal with, whether you win or you lose, that this move is very necessary?
Well, Jordan, I did not know that she was going to have somebody come and film that. I did not know Barstool was going to pick it up. I guess the people other than me, Jordan, are probably the best to, I think I'm like really, really cool and really, really sweet when we win. I didn't really understand, why I need to be punished if we win a game. That was really confusing to me. I was already at work when Danielle put that out. So, tonight after my radio show, like, we're going to have a really serious conversation on why, if we win, I can't stay in the house. I don't understand why I can't sleep next to her. If we win, I don't understand why I can't be in the same house. But having said that, she, her rules rule the house. So I got to go with what she said. Now after a loss, I get it. Like, it was the same way when I was growing up. When my dad's team lost, I knew, do not go anywhere near him. I guess as an older man, I should probably be a little bit better to deal with after a loss, but I'm not.
Alyssa.
Hey, Coach, good to see you. Hey, I want to follow up a little bit on what Nate's saying. I know you played roughly the 6-7 guys last year, kind of two others here and there. But ideally, with the depth that you have,
Alyssa,
how many guys?
that's a great way of putting it.
How many guys would you like to play throughout the year as you continue to learn on your team?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a set number because I kind of think that, the players are going to really dictate based on productivity, on who play. I've kind of said it in the past that, when I was in the G League that I did play 10 guys and they all kind of played equal minutes. And, so I don't have a set number. I do know this, and this is something that, people that have played can really like kind of roll with and understand. Like when I had Gilbert Arenas, Gilbert knew that he was going to play through mistakes as a young player, and he played with freedom and he played with confidence. And Jason Richardson did. Those two guys in particular that were young players that played for me with the Warriors. Let's face the facts. If we had a really strong bench last year, Mason Jones probably would not have had the year that he had just based on freedom. Like, I mean, in huddles, I would tell him, hey, man, freestyle. Like, go get us a shot. Like, hey, here's a play we're running Boston Keep. But if this stuff breaks down, man, don't look at me. Go get something. Go get it on your own. Go get one for your teammate. And the one thing that I do know, like, when you're playing more people, sometimes the freedom and playing free, both mentally and physically, kind of changes. And I don't want to do that with our teams. I think our Nevada teams, they were, we were known to take maybe some bad shots and some ill-advised shots. But I also knew that when you play that way and you play with freedom, you can be down 20 points in the game and get right back in the game. And I don't want guys, looking over to the scores table and seeing a sub and not playing with great freedom. So really, listen, I'm like still struggling with that, because I know, it's hard as a player when you think you're going to get yanked out of a game on a bad shot. And I also think it affects shooting percentages. I think when you have great freedom, your shooting percentage goes up because you're not worried about anything other than just playing.
And I have a question about Ethan Henderson. We've seen glimpses from him here and there, but where have you seen growth from him? And maybe what do you expect out of him this year as a?
Yeah, I mean, Ethan is, he has grown a lot in his work ethic, pre-practice and post-practice. He's slowly but surely figured out that on an off day, it's really important to come in and work on your craft. And, he's a special athlete. He reacts to loose balls well. He's different, though, because, we tried to implement a lot of 5-out offense where all 5 players can shoot the 3. All 5 players can beat people off the dribble in a one-on-one situation. And Ethan's more of a rim runner. And maybe we play a little bit more with a 4 out and 1 in when he's in. So we've kind of, we started off with an all 5-out offense. And as we've gotten closer to the games, we went back to some of our transition offense that we ran last year called opportunity break instead of our 5-out that we call spread, to try to make Ethan feel maybe a little bit more comfortable than in our 5-out spread attack.
Scotty?
Hey, Coach. Keke was telling us a little bit earlier that things were pretty tough for him, for a while, after he got here in practices. But I'm curious, what steps has he taken as a player, maybe since those early workouts?
Yeah, I think for a lot, like every freshman goes through something, and look across our league last year and look at the numbers of some of the great freshman talented players that came into the SEC, and a lot of them kind of had peaks and valleys throughout the year. Again, with some incredibly talented freshmen last year in the league. And, Keke, I think it was an adjustment at first on what I wanted. I mean, I think I mentioned, maybe one of the few times back that we had one of these Zooms was, my wife had to keep reminding me that a lot of these guys, might not have had nearly the playbook that we have. And it's really hard on a point guard. Because I even said to him, we were doing a segment, and I said, hey, I want the players to call out the plays. I don't want any coaches saying anything. And he kept calling the same play. He kept calling spread or opportunity, which is kind of a transition offense. And I pulled him off the side and said, KK, we got to run something else. We got to run Brazil or Iceland or one of these other play calls. And he said, Coach, those are the two that I remember. And I said, well, yeah, I get that, but we got to utilize our whole play package. And he's really improved and gotten much, much more comfortable, with what our system and our play calls are. And that was to be expected, but he's a more confident player right now, Scotty, than he was, a month or two ago.
And then I think a few weeks back, you mentioned Connor had been battling some sickness and lost some weight. What's he been able to give you in practice of late?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's playing catch up, for sure. I mean, he missed, almost 3 weeks when we were like grinding and when we were doing what I would consider like our conditioning, because like when you build this thing up, you build it up with timing, and it's got certain segments or blocks on the calendar year where it's conditioning, where you're burning their legs out, and then you try to taper it down. And, last year on this day, 48 hours before the first game, we went 1 hour and 33 minutes. Today we went 1 hour and 12. I tapered it down slightly. So we have all these records of what we do in the past years on how to get to the right spot. And Connor missed a lot of that. And so, he's still playing catch up on a lot of things. But the good thing is he's got a really, really high basketball IQ, and he's got a really great skill set. So those two things have kind of saved him while he's missed time, because he still knows our offense as well as anybody, even though he's missed some time with us.
Nikki.
Coach, you said that Mississippi Valley State likes to play really fast. Do you guys anticipate picking up the pace yourselves offensively, or do you, go out there and count passes and try to slow the game down for yourselves? And then also, with so many freshmen or just like guys who haven't played together, like how have turnovers been during practices and scrimmage type settings?
Well, first of all, Nikki, I think that, there's times where we've needed a helmet in practice on the sidelines because we are turning it over too much. I referenced the Bad News Bears a few days ago, just with the turnovers and, but I think that though, especially the 4 younger guys, they continue to get better and better. And Moses really hasn't turned the ball over that much. And Jalen Williams has been a real surprise in how he's picked up our terminology. And then I think the 2 guards, there's just all this stuff heaped on your shoulders, and it's all new. And so I think that it's hard. It's just like a quarterback, a young quarterback with the football team, or if it's a catcher and he's trying to help, with the pitching. Yeah, it's hard on certain positions and especially for young guys. But I think both KK and Devo have continued to grow every day in understanding that we want a shot on goal. We don't want to turn the ball over. We don't want live ball turnovers. And I think they've continued to, to pick that up. And then your second part of the question, Nikki, we're not putting the brakes on, transition offense. If Mississippi Valley State wants to run, we're going to run. Like, we're not going to change who we are. We do want to have great transition defense, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to send guys to the offensive glass. We're still going to go to the offensive boards. We're still going to be aggressive in our dribble drive. We always count passes but we count passes more so to try to encourage team basketball and the ball going from first side, second side, third side. But if someone is open for a quick 3-ball, like we shot last year with Mason or Isaiah or Desi, we want the quickest, fastest, best available shot that we can get.
Are you excited to remind fans that you don't call timeouts and that you only play man and all that stuff?
I mean, I hope we don't have to call many timeouts because I think that's part of conditioning. If we call a early timeout, that's not a good thing. So if someone's listening to the game on the radio or watching it, and we call a timeout, it's probably not going to be a real pleasant timeout. If the other team calls it, that's one thing, but I'd like to save a whole bunch of timeouts so that when I'm done coaching, I got this humongous amount built up in my timeout chest. What was the second one? The timeouts?
Just giving fans a hard time.
Okay.
Randy.
Coach, how will you determine the minutes, and then will that help develop units, these minutes?
Yeah, I think that, we've been practicing for so long that the minutes that are put out, at least in the, like in the first game, are going to be minutes that have been earned and deserved through practice. That's why, I've said it, quite a few times that like we're charting makes, misses, turnovers. We call them no-goes. If you don't go to the offensive backboard, that's called a no-go. That's charted. We're charting defensive blockouts because we know how bad we were last year in blocking out. So that's being charted. And the guys get all these stats every day. So, we're not going to hand out minutes. We've tried to do combinations, for the last 5 months or whatever. We put, even today's group is not going to be tomorrow's group that was in the first unit because we've been trying to play guys with different combinations, see which group rebounds well together, see which group's a high turnover or low turnover group together. This is not, fourth grade YMCA or fourth grade Boys and Girls Club or CYO. Like, you got to earn your minutes and you go play them. And if you want to develop, we'll see you an hour before practice, or we'll see you an hour after practice. Or I know if you want to develop, you'll get in on an off day and really develop your game.
I've got time for one follow-up.
Mike, where do I have? We've already practiced. I got all day.
You say Bob? I couldn't hear very well.
Yes, Bob.
Okay, I'll punch you in here. Eric, obviously Eric Smith, or not Eric Smith, Justin Smith the other day in the red white went 3 for 3 on threes, small sample size. But how's he been doing in practice? I know you said you've been charting everything. How's he shot 3 balls in practice?
Yeah, Bob, I think that, Justin's really improved as a shooter. I think his mechanics have gotten better. I also, maybe more importantly than anything, number one, he's got a ton of reps up on his own. He's in here all the time getting shots up. But I think maybe, most importantly is he looks like he's a more confident shooter right now. And, he knows that we need him to take open shots from free when his feet are set and he's open, just like all of our guys.
I can't remember if we asked you about your mom the other day or not, but that was a legit letter from her talking about your team. And she actually, like, you sent her tapes of the games, or how does that work?
No, I don't know where the tape thing came out, but the game was, what was it on, Mike? It was streamed on on ESPN Plus or SEC Plus.
So she actually watches the games and sends you notes? That was legit.
She watches anytime we are on the internet, TV, whatever. She is watching. That is a promise. It's great for her too, because San Diego's 2 hours different, so she can be watching the game, you know, and still it's not even dinner time yet for her.
And her handwriting's impeccable. Did you? I mean, what do you think?
She probably wrote that letter before she had a glass of wine.
Okay. And then with Danielle, I mean, she was joking today. I mean, it was a funny video, but she's not really going to make you sleep out in a pool house, is she? I mean, that was a joke, right?
I don't know. Like literally, that thing went out with. I don't know. I mean, I do think there's some truth to it because she hates when I have Sports Center on. She hates when I call Anthony Ruda. Even when I'm in the other, so it might, like I'm being real now. Like I know I joke with you guys a lot, but like that might be real. Like she might not let me in the house. I might go straight from the garage out there. Because honestly, she hates being, you know, late at night. She doesn't like me talking. And I'd ask her questions in the middle of the night. Like, what'd you think of our pick and roll defense, Danielle? Did Adriel Bailey box out enough? So I don't think she wants to hear that at 2 a.m.
It looks like she wants you to do laundry.
I mean, I do that anyhow. She doesn't have to ask for that.
Okay.
I'm a good husband.
Good.
I do a lot of little things like that. I'm a good team player. I have a lot of intangible things that don't show up in the box score like laundry. My laundry game is good.
Okay. You fold too?